For those who haven't been here before, we're going to try some beers. We have a rep from the brewery, which this month is Boulevard Brewing Company from Kansas City. We have Tyler here. He's going to tell us about these beers. These beers are what they released in New York is high ABV, real specialty stuff. So this, we're not going to have any pilsners tonight, no IPAs. We have stouts, we have sour, we have a saison, quad. So
oh my God.
Fasten your seatbelts and let's get going. Here's Tyler.
How's it going, everybody?
All right. Woo!
Can everyone hear me? I try not to be too loud when I have a microphone, but also at the same time.
Too loud. Too loud.
Better.
Better.
So, just a little background. Is anyone familiar with Boulevard?
Yeah.
From Nebraska.
Yeah, big in the Midwest. It's kind of one of our home market states, technically. So we are based out of Kansas City, Missouri. A lot of people always confuse those two. We live in the downtown Kansas City area, which tends to fall on the Missouri side. So a little backstory on how we became Boulevard Brewing Company. Back in 1984, John McDonald was visiting Europe while he was kind of doing a summer abroad. Went into a random bar that was specializing in Belgian-style beers, and tried one style after another, and just fell in love with the beers and the Belgian-style brewing process.
I'm lying. I want
A few months later, he returned back to the United States, finished out his school, where he became a carpenter, which most people do after art school. But the entire time, for the first couple of years while he's doing his carpentry, he just kept going back to the idea of these Belgian-style beers, and he couldn't get them out of his head, and he just kept missing them. And at this time, a bunch of different breweries within the Kansas, Missouri area, there was dozens and dozens of them, started to shutter. So the availability of craft beer outside of Anheuser-Busch was going limited. He took it upon himself to start homebrewing to kind of scratch that itch and get some of those Belgian beers. Also at the same time, he would also travel to neighboring states. There was a surprising amount of, for lack of a better term, monasteries where they were making these Belgian-style beers from scratch with their homemade yeast. He decided to make a deal with one of these monasteries, grab a little bit of their Belgian-esque style yeast, and started using that for his homebrewing. Fast forward a couple years after that, 1989, he decides to purchase a building where he is going to use it as a house and carpentry spot off of Southwest Boulevard. And then a couple of years after that, he decided to start formulating a business plan to start brewing. By doing so, he was able to get some funding for some local people that, like I said, they were missing some of those local craft breweries and they wanted to get back to that. So he gained some funding, moved his carpentry shop to the corner of the building, and started brewing his beer out of this, which is now the current tap room house. So he started brewing beers. The Boulevard Pale Ale was the first beer that he ever sold commercially. And then basically, over time, started growing, and the word got around town that there was this new local brewery. The original business plan had them maxing out at 6,000 barrels a year. By year 3, they were surpassing 8,000 barrels. So they had to keep growing and growing. By 2004, they were now surpassing 100,000 barrels a year. That led to a lot of questions about the future. So they were able to go out to a couple of local markets and then built out a $25 million project in 2006 to expand their brewing production 40%. So kept growing, and this growth attracted basically our parent company, Duvel. So Duvel Marchal Morgat was fascinated with what Boulevard was doing, especially with Belgian-style beers in the United States. 2014, they decided to collab together, grow the business a little bit more. 2016, they threw another $25 million project into the barrel aging. So with this growth and also with this room for experimentation, that launched what is basically what we're going to be trying today. It's called the Smokestack Series. This is all the fun, exciting stuff that doesn't keep the lights on at Boulevard, but it's still a lot of fun and it's delicious beer. You know, all the barrel aging stuff, all the souring projects, anything cool, fun that comes out of Boulevard is through the Smokestack Exteriors, which will be Tank 7, which will be the first one. So Tank 7 is an American-style saison. It is still using the Belgian-style yeast
Number
that
6,
Boulevard
I
has
was
kept
trying to remember.
alive
The
for
KCBC Vicious Crush.
36 years now.
He's coming around.
But basically, the reason it got named Tank 7 is at the time they were trying to do a Gret saison, and periodically throughout the process of it fermenting, a lot of not only the brew team but also the taproom team heard that the process was doing very well at tank number 7. So periodically people would go by and sneak samples of tank number 7.
Was there anything left?
Matt,
Was there anything left after all the sneaking?
After the sneaking for the first batch, they actually depleted about 40%.
Oh my
of the
god!
original one. So that's where it got its name. The first batch was probably 30 barrels, but that's still a lot when you think about it. But through the process, that's where Tank 7 gets its name. They had some crazy, fancy Belgian name that they were going to give to it, but it became so famous within the brew team, the tap house team, and some of the regulars in the tap room that Tank number 7, shortened to Tank 7, became honestly one of our most famous beers that we make today.
Very nice. Absolutely.
Does anyone have any questions so far about the beer, the brewery, what's going on with my hair?
You're doing a little alfalfa with that?
Yes.
So you said that his motivation to do all this was because he wanted to scratch the itch of having those very specific Belgian beers.
Correct.
My question is, for me, anytime I hear saison, it's usually
More on the French side.
I guess more on the French side and more not as strong as the one we just had. I've seen a lot of them more on the lower ABV, but this is impressive at 8.5. That's really good.
Saisons typically range like 7 and 9. It really depends on where you're getting them from. The traditional Belgian ones are usually closer to 7 for sure. This one, like I said, because they were originally trying to do something else with it, and people started liking it at this ABV, that's why they kind of kept it.
It drinks real smooth too.
Yes, it's very dangerous. It doesn't drink like it. But also, most people think Tank 7 and they think it's going to be around 7%, but that's not the case.
I have this saying when it comes to like beers, if it's like when you get to the higher alcohol content, they go two ways. One, it's a slap to the face every time you sip it and drink it, you can taste the alcohol. The other one, it goes down really, really smooth, and it's dangerous because you'll have a couple of them and then you'll be like, oh my god, what did I do last time?
Yeah, that tends to happen.
Oh, you have that.
No,
I forgot I got that.
Yes.
Did he make his own barrel?
So you mean like a Federer barrel?
Yeah, but since he was a barber, he made his own.
So the original ones were because those were harder to maintain, especially in the space that he had. And also with the business plan, he kind of had to lean a little bit more on the American kind of kettle system. In years, they didn't make it ourselves, but in years past we have done those. And actually one of the beers later on, spoiler alert, will be one of those styles. Anybody else? Oh man, we're gonna run through this. It's gonna be a fun night.
So when you say barrel aged, are they using barrels that were previously used as wine?
No, so basically, so for something like this, it's basically it's measurements in barrels.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this is a standard kettle system. Like if you go to a brewery, the big tanks that are metal, that's this style.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's usually most batches are measured in barrels. So our current brew deck is 250 barrels per brew right now.
Yes.
Now this is a question about barrels. If they were to age beer in a barrel, can you use it again? 'Cause I know if it's whiskey, it can't be used again.
So technically, because of the yeast, they cannot reuse it. But we actually have a partnership for like 85% of our barrels. It's called Holiday Distillery in Kansas City. We can actually give it back to them. But we've also partnered with a couple of local places where they've stored either honey or maple syrup in it, kind of like bourbon barrel aged thing. And we've also been able to use some of the staves into like bottle openers and decor. So technically, the answer to your question is no, we can't reuse them because of the yeast. But we've found ways to reuse those barrels so it's a little more economical and environmental for everybody.
Because I always knew that like when it comes to whiskey, they can't reuse it because of some type of.
It's a health code thing.
It's a health code thing.
Yeah. So basically, it's the only one that really doesn't have the ability to. The one that can reuse is rum. And honestly, if you learn about how rum barrels are reused and stuff like that, you'll never touch it a day in your life again.
Okay.
You can reuse it until the damn thing falls apart, and they get pretty grimy sometimes. But for whiskey, there's a certain quota that basically they can't do it. But basically, if they give it to us and we put beer in it, they can reuse it. I mean, some people have heard of like the Jameson IPA, the Jameson Stout. That's where that comes from. Is they can reuse it once something else is added to it. They just can't keep using it themselves.
Okay. The reason why I asked is because when you watch like History Channel, and they talk about like whiskey and bourbons and stuff like that. They'll just say, "Oh, it can't be used again," and I'm like, they never explain that it's a health thing. They've always just said, "Oh, it just can't be used again." I'm like,
There must be something behind that. You know, most of those barrels, first of all, I'm glad that they're using barrels. You know, not found another way to kind of cast it over the gate.
Yeah, so most American whiskeys and bourbons will actually char the barrels before they put their whiskey into it.
And you can't char them?
No, so basically if you were to rechar them after having all that alcohol in it, they would just turn to embers.
So which one is this again?
what's the second beer we're doing right now?
So 6 glass. Yeah, so this will be 6 glass. This is our Belgian Quad. One of our most popular beers that we make is our Bourbon Barrel Quad. This is the base beer for it. Yeah, so this is a traditional style Belgian Quad. You're gonna get notes of some vanilla, some cherry. It's got a good, and basically this one is slightly aged in red smash barrels, which is almost kind of like red wine-esque barrel. It's one of the few ones that we don't use holiday.
10.2.
10.2.
Woo!
Move it up.
Move it on up.
They put their logo on it. What are you doing with my sandwich? That's my burger. You taking my money?
Yes.
So, where do you get like your hops and stuff like that? Is it like all coming in from Germany, or do you have?
No, so for hops and malts, we tend to use American ones for that.
So like, can you get stuff locally in your area, or do you have to go out to other states?
So there's not a whole lot of hop growth. There's more. Hop growth usually goes in kind of more wet, damp, kind of like your Oregons, your Washingtons.
Oh, okay.
So like a lot of our malts are pretty centralized in like Central America, like Nebraska, Kansas. But most of our hops come from the Northwest.
Oh, okay.
It's just the climate that it thrives in.
Right.
What are we tasting? Anyone have any questions? Yay, nay?
No, this is really good. Like that.
Yeah, honestly, that's one of the things that is really dangerous about this beer is when you think Belgian quads, like you think of getting hit in your face, and this one still kind of does, but it's not as abrasive, and it goes down a lot smoother than it should. 10.2.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I didn't even notice.
Yes.
Can we get
Yeah,
these
triples,
locally?
quads, it's more so the malt build that they use on a different one. Triples tend to get a little bit sweeter, quads tend to mellow out a little bit with a little bit more of the caramel notes from the malts
Did they have
themselves.
Boulevard at Beverage Island?
I really don't remember.
Where do you can you find this distributed locally here, like Beverage Island or?
Yeah, so Beverage Island definitely has it.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, there's another one that's like right around the corner.
Champs?
Yeah. So basically, any place that is craft centric, especially in the Staten Island area, they'll have
This movie
pretty much everything that's
aged well.
except for the last one tonight. But they'll have everything else. That's right. So what is being poured right now is going to be rye on rye. This is our spicy malt. Sorry? Rye on rye. So it is a spicy rye malt ale aged in rye whiskey barrels.
Oh, nice.
Yes, so this is one of the ones that we use Holiday Distilling for. This is one of their rye whiskeys that they do in-house. Basically, we brew, I think the base beer is like 8.5%, and then we age it in the rye barrels for about 3 months. 3 months. So no, it's aged for 3 months. So basically, we brew like an 8.5% beer, and then we age it for about 3 months. Yeah, so it's got a good amber color to it, a little bit different than like a stout, but you're still getting notes of like the vanilla from the whiskey, a little bit of cherry, you get a little bit of the char. Yeah, so it's, most people when they think of like barrel-aged beers, they're thinking porter stouts, and that's another reason why with the Smokestack series we have a lot of experimentation. Like I said, the last beer that we had another one that's a bourbon barrel-aged quad, which is that barrel-aged. We have an amber ale, basically, barrel-aged. We have an upcoming launch in February where it'll be basically session barrel-aged beer will be like 0.5%, but it's still aged for like 6 months.
This is 13.2.
13.2. We're getting there. We're getting there.
This is really good. This is definitely a FAFO beer. This is F around and find out, because oh my.
It's just one of those days. You know, what else are you going to do on a Thursday? But yeah, that was kind of what I was referring to with the Smokestack series and the experimentation.
Yes, please.
We have the second largest barrel aging program in the entire country, which allows us to really perfect what we're doing, but also at the same time do some really fun stuff with these things. Aging a quad for about a month in a red wine barrel, aging a couple of months in a whiskey barrel on a dry amber ale. Coming next is going to be a tiramisu stout. We have a lot of fun things that we can play around with because of our barrel aging program, and it's all due to the growth that we had in 2014.
Yeah, great question.
So it's that Lexington, Kentucky.
Oh, really? Lexington, Kentucky?
Because like their entire portfolio is barrel aged
TJ,
beers.
this is definitely like the officer comes up to the car. It's like what seems to be the
This is
officer
something
problem.
you sit around a campfire in the
So
snow.
Lexington, Kentucky Brewing Company, they have the largest barrel aging because like their entire thing is barrel aged beers. We have the second biggest one, but we have the most awarded barrel aging program ever.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
How's everybody doing? Good? We're good. Yeah, that'd be okay.
Yeah, so the vanilla comes from the whiskey, or the rye whiskey barrels that it's aged in. It's not actually from the malts in the beer itself, it's more so what it picks up from the barrels. Yeah, so it's got a vanilla to it, it's got a little cherry note to it, it's got a little bit of a char. All of that is basically the beer picking up the flavor from the barrels.
And that's crazy because the flavor is like so rich and everything. It's way better than
It's like cake.
Yeah, with the style of beer that was aged in it, a lot of porters and stouts, because they're already so heavy and dense, some of those flavors don't really translate. Because this is a lighter style beer that's put into the barrels, it takes a lot more.
This is definitely like, I'd love to bake this, I'd love to like bake this into a cake, or like drizzle, what is it, a bun?
We don't know yet.
Like drizzle this over a bun cake.
So I did have a friend that used this to make it caramel to put on top of some cookies. They kind of like reduced it down, and it was really good.
Nice.
We threw bread at trees.
Oh, great.
Little did you know you can make your alcohol into an edible.
Banged on pots and pans.
Bang on pots
Yeah,
and scare
well,
with it.
basically you're just basically breaking down the sugars.
Yeah, well I mean by that point I think you would burn off most of the alcohol, but
Most of it, but at 13.2, you don't
you're
get
still gonna have some left over.
Well, lots of people pick.
Any other questions?
Literally walked every room in the house. Had to go in every room.
Oh, so it's not necessarily the yeast itself, it's more so the malt build. So basically it's more malt you put on it, the more residual sugars it punches out, which the yeast turns into alcohol. But then with the barrel aging, you're getting some of the alcohol from that as well. So it's almost like a double.
Silver bell.
Nice.
Oh, silver.
We've already missed 2 big.
Alright, so next up,
That's your job.
yeah, we're taking it easy.
I went back to
This is our tiramisu stout.
We missed the
Another collaboration that we did with not only Holiday Distilling, but also the Roastery, which is a Kansas City coffee and coffee shop and roastery as well. So basically, there are hints of espresso. You're getting some bourbon. You're getting vanilla from the bourbon. It's just a well-balanced beer where the natural flavors from the coffee and the whiskey create this dessert style. Yeah, it's almost like a port wine in some degree. But yeah, basically with the level of the cocoa nibs and with the coffee itself, and just how it's aged. It's aged for about 6 months. But yeah, it's one of our most recent rotating ones that we've done, and honestly, it's super popular right now.
Well, that smells really good.
That was a mistake.
One more. Are the cops waiting for us to get in our cars?
Yeah.
All right,
They'll be like, all 20 cars are going to get confiscated tonight.
Does anyone have any questions about this
You
one?
do know that the first car that got confiscated was a Staten cop coming over the barrel.
Really? I love that.
That's what you got to
Imagine the cop pulls over.
Probably like 34 now. It's 50 proof.
You're using proof now.
Oh, that's the name.
Moved up. Like ABV doesn't work.
What's the ABV on that one?
You don't know yet.
That is 11.2.
The graph on like that's like my specific gravity.
I thought you were going to say something else.
Oh. I was gonna say penis. We're being recorded. I wouldn't say penis.
Too late now.
This reminds me of that Gabriel Iglesias bit where it's like this. Sometimes you drive home and you get a little tipsy and it's like, whoop, whoop, I'm fine. Whoop, whoop, oh, I'm gonna go to jail.
That is
I'm gonna go to jail.
roasted butterscotch.
I gotta call you back. I'm gonna go to jail.
Butterscotch coffee.
So what are some other, like, so just
Wow.
Butterscotch coffee.
variation of south?
Wow. The smell of
So
that
for
is
most of our barrel
intoxicating.
aging stouts, we typically try and use Dark Truth, which is one of our stout, like as the base beer. It just depends on what we're trying to go with it. This one was a
This
slight
smells like
variation.
Christmas.
It's
Almost a
butterscotch.
blend of
It's
Dark
chocolate,
Truth
it's
and rye on
roasted
rye.
butterscotch.
That basically they added cocoa nibs and then espresso beans from the roastery, and then barrel aged it in bourbon barrels.
Honestly, take out the cocoa nibs.
But
I thought you might have liked it. It tastes more. It tastes more like hot cocoa.
I love butterscotch.
Take the cocoa nibs out of the
She's not a stout.
Yeah, so basically it's aged with the espresso beans and the cocoa nibs, so like it really comes
They
out.
don't have anything great. Theirs is any
God damn,
She's
man.
critiquing.
You're drowning
like
that shit.
less cocoa
You better
nibs,
not
more
chuck
butter.
my car.
I will not chuck in your
I
car.
like it. I like it.
Well, that's you.
That's you.
No, so it's not that it's not a big seller, it's just a rotating. Yeah, basically we do like one round once a year. Yeah, so this is this is our third year.
We need more room.
I'm gonna set
Yes,
up right
so
now.
current season only launched about
I grew up
10
in
days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. Yeah, so it's pretty new.
Florida and came here. What the hell is that?
I want to sew a zipper into the cover.
Huh?
So I do know, so it will be an espresso martini barrel aged stout. That won't be until February.
Oh, espresso martini, barrel aged stout.
Amazing patisseries up and down Sky.
No, it's more so on the espresso beans, very similar to what they're doing with this. But they're gonna basically double the espresso, so it's like very coffee forward. But it's still will have a little creaminess, a little bit of the vanilla we'll get from the bourbon.
I used to come right out of the
So that was
station
this
and-
past year's one. So basically every beginning of the year we kind of do like some
Clone recipes of these
coffee stout-esque one. This was from the community's coffee stout. Next year will be the espresso one.
I was like, it used to be like, it used to be
I have a
like,
question. Have you has the brewery tried? I'm not sure if it counts as a Belgian, but have you guys tried a smoked beer?
We have done a barrel-aged smoked double, Belgian double.
That sounds
Um,
interesting.
Yeah, so that one did not come to New York. That was a very like Central America only.
That is a pity.
Like it was called Planet Crater, but it was like spelled really weird. But basically, it was smoked malt, basically double bonk, and then they barrel aged it for like 2 months.
That sounds really cool. Because the first smoked beer I ever had, can't remember its name off the top of my head, but it's a very famous like one from Germany, and I had it at the Nürnberger on Staten Island, and it was amazing. And recently, last year, we got the. I have to say, if you go to Costco when it's like November, they start selling the beer advent calendars. I was able to try one for once because we were there in November, and that's when they sell them. If you don't get them in November, they're gone. And one of them in there was a traditional like German style smoked beer, and I really like it because if they're done really well, it almost tastes like smoked bacon. It tastes like liquid barbecue, and I'm like, this is amazing. Why hasn't American breweries tried this? This is amazing.
So a lot of American breweries do try that. They just don't do it really well. They over smoke it and it's almost burnt,
Yeah.
or they under smoke it and you don't get any smoke at all, and you're like, what the hell is this? So there are places that are doing it, just no one's really doing it well.
I don't like smoked beers.
Speaking of like regional stuff, have you ever has the brewery ever attempted anything with Zerben schnapps?
Not to my knowledge.
She was asking. Zerben schnapps is it's a type of liqueur that's made with the stone pine cones of a very specific pine tree in
Sherbet?
yeah.
Schnurben snaps?
Yeah, it's basically they take like high grain alcohol, they take the pine cones, they chop them up, they put them inside this big glass vat, and then they age it for a couple months, and then it tastes like a Christmas tree. It's beautiful. I've only had it once.
This is news to me.
Well, I would say, look it up. It's something definitely to try.
I mean, I can pass along the links, but that's way above my pay grade.
You gotta meet Spruce Tip Guy. There's a guy that came to the homebrew tour the other day that we call him Spruce Tip guy. He made a Spruce Tip beers.
Roger
I need a
Bramble.
beer.
Well, this
With spruce dip was, which I
So
thought would be gross.
be back to your
well, this
original
brings
question
up
about the,
this
building
brings
zone
up
fender.
the story
So this
that
is
I swear
a
like
Fender aged saison.
the one that like
Is this the
I'm
blueberry
the
or
only one that
blackberry?
seems to remember it.
Blackberry.
There was a
so yeah. So
it was
this
a
is
dark beer, Stranger
sour
Pines,
aged
right around
Fender
Christmas
saison,
2018, I think.
aged in white wine barrels with
Neither
blackberries.
do I. He's the only one who remembers it. It's a different timeline. Religion changer.
Yeah, it was because there was a year they did Stranger Things.
Yeah,
the
so you'll
Stranger
get some
Things
fruit
beer,
notes,
and
you'll
then
get the white wine,
they made a
you'll get
variant
the
of it
tartness
called
from the
Stranger
bread.
Pines,
But you
where it
also get a
had
little
like
bit of Christmas,
the pine extract in
fruity
it,
spiciness
and it was like
that
a
you
dark
get from
beer
a traditional
that just
saison.
tastes like it was a dark beer that tasted like
This one's
Christmas.
8.5, so we're going back down.
And it was like Christmas in a cup. I loved it. I came back a couple days later, it was all gone.
Otherwise, why are we even doing it? If you just keep going up, up, and up, you gotta come down eventually.
So we're on a bell curve.
Crash.
Thank you.
We're trying to avoid that.
Smells good.
We're out of cups.
More cups?
Does anyone have any questions so far? I know something's still being poured out.
Oh, that smells like
Here.
So it depends on the sours. We do a couple that, especially under the Love Child series, tend to be the same one. It just slightly variant every year. We don't do a whole ton of fruited sours, but when we do, it's something unique from year to year.
Was this last year?
Honestly, if I remember, it's way more than 2 years. I want to say like 2017, 2018.
Wow.
This one's been a while. I was about to say, 'cause this is one that I haven't tried and I work for the company. So,
Oh, 2021.
so yeah, 3 years. Oh, I'll get some, don't worry. I'm not leaving without it.
No touching. No touching.
no, not yet. This should be served after meal. Not gonna like it.
Ah,
I mean, it is being used at the end to clear your palate right now, so you're not wrong.
it's a good digestif.
Yeah, I'm told I have manager ears where I can like hear across bars without even realizing it.
Well, that's nice. They call
No, it's kind of scary sometimes because you hear things you don't want to hear and then you have to remember it later on.
Wow, that is tart, but it is amazing.
Not what you expect. The smell.
No.
The sour?
What's the ABV on this one?
8.5.
Not bad.
Tongue flipped upside down. I know.
You can have more.
Yeah, so this one we cut the fermentation a little short,
Damn, man.
add the bread, put it in the wine barrels with the fruit, and let it finish fermentation that way.
Thank you.
It definitely,
She
has a
doesn't
very
like
low pH. That wine barrels definitely drove it down.
Anybody want a little more?
Yes.
Me too, but I'm gonna relog it on Netflix over here.
First sip was a lot. Second and third sip are nice. Yeah, it's getting better.
Concept is that defense.
Yeah, it is. I have to relog into everything. It's so weird.
Does anyone have any questions right now
Oh, baby.
about the beer? Maybe something that's come along the way?
This one on wine barrels,
Yeah, so this is what?
not on lees.
So it's white wine barrels for 6 months with the blackberry cherry or the blackberries.
Okay.
Netflix.
Probably.
Is it?
But this isn't vintage. This is a 2021.
Oh,
I'm gonna think it's cat.
So it's had time to marinate.
no. That would be. Yeah.
Exclamation point.
Yes.
I think come up with a name.
I did not work for the company at the time, so I do not know. It's very, very possible.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
before and
musical
after?
literary references that we use for a lot of our beers. Like, so Six Glass was a reference to, do you know what happens at the bottom of a glass from
Gabby.
the Watcher of the, no, it's the Watcher of,
Watchman.
There's a book that it's a reference to, and it's what you find at the bottom of your sixth glass, and it's usually regret. But that's where the name Sixth Glass comes from.
The Watchman?
No, not the, it's like the Tower of the Watchman. It's in an older novel. But there's like a quote from it that's what it's.
You mean like Philip K. Dick's Man in a High Tower?
I enjoyed that.
That might be it. It's good fun. I actually didn't even realize that.
What do you find in your sixth glass?
It has a 3M here. Stick to the beat.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's, I go in there and there's like 1 4-pack.
Not the way I wanted it.
It's like an IKEA.
It was funny, I just Googled it.
Ago when I was here.
I just Googled it, and it's from your website. It says, in the sixth class sits the devil himself. He is a little well-dressed man, most charming and pleasant. He understands you and agrees with everything you say. He even brings you a lamp to light your way, not to your home, but to his. And that says Boulevard, the sixth class.
Yeah, I knew it was a literary term, but you know, it's been a long time since I've been in school, so.
Oh my god.
Any other questions about the brewery, beers? Sending you birthday presents? Maybe not, but you might be able to find some here. There's so the tiramisu stout is one of our rotational ones. Mike and the Hop Shop are on our list for anything fun, not just from Boulevard, from Omegang, Duval, Shoot. So there's always fun things coming from our company that will be here.
You guys are amazing. Every beer was good.
Glad you enjoyed it.
I'm not able to drink this much. Beer sitting there.
Anything else before I hand the mic off? 3, 2.
All right, big hand for Tyler from Boulevard Brewing Company. With high ABV beer. Trying to get us drunk. There you go.
That's all we got.
That's all we got.
It's The Watchman of the Tower by Hans Christian Andersen.
Oh.
I
Close, yeah, got it. Thank you all for coming today and enjoying the beer. We have, just want to point out that on November 2nd, Horrormania, there are cards on your table if you'd like to order tickets. It's at Flagship and Staten Island, support Staten Island homebrewers.
And Seagull Solar.
And Seagull Solar, which TJ knows about.
Yes.
They do solar stuff.
With kids.
With kids. Solar stuff with kids.
It's sciencey. Sciencey.
For the future.
Seagulls. Yes.
Well, seagulls, yes. I guess. Obviously, they're involved somehow.
Huh?
Save the seagulls with solar instead of the windmills, I suppose. But in any event, thank you all for coming. Next month, we will be having it the third Thursday of the month as well because of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's us.
We will have Allagash.
Yeah.
And we have a couple very special kegs from them. One I got by mistake, which is a Union Beer Distributor screw-up. And I'm keeping it.
It's science stuff for kids. It's not specifically solar cars. It's one of the things.
Yeah, we got like a really, really rare keg that they sent by mistake, and they're lost in our game. So we'll look forward to that. Plus, their beers are also phenomenal. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next month.
That's coming.
There's also
That's coming.
stickers if anyone wants any.
That's coming. Yeah.
I think I can put these in the mailbox at work without getting in trouble.
I was thinking the same thing, and I'm gonna do it.
There's in the mailbox for the people I think might be interested in going.
Yeah. So do you guys want to chill for a little, or do you want to
Yeah, we're hanging out.
hang out? Same for you guys. You want to chill for a little while?
Just had 13% beer.
You guys still eat?
Just a friend.